So, lads, A'ja Wilson. And I had this video made yesterday. Didn't have it fully uploaded where I was at and couldn't get it up. And then when I got home from practice, I was just exhausted. But A'ja Wilson's really good. We can all be in agreement right here. A'ja Wilson is really good. I think A'ja Wilson is probably the best female basketball player in the world right now. And again, I say probably because, look, Fee Collier is really freaking good. Like, there are a lot of really, really good female basketball players. So I'm not going to go out on a limb and say, oh, she's without question the best. Even though I know I'll be killed for doing that. I'll be absolutely killed for not just blindly saying A'ja Wilson's the best and no one can even come close to her. But I'm giving my opinion. Either way, though, we are going to be talking about something with A'ja Wilson. And it's kind of annoying when it comes to WNBA where it's like, it's not just Wilson, it's Chelsea Gray. It's these like historic players that the fans didn't choose to necessarily hype up. The new fans anyway that came this year getting thrown down people's throats. And before we get on to, if you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We are trying to hit 40k by the end of the year. If we can get 39.1k, we're going to be on track to do that. 39.2k, honestly, by the end of the month, and we're really good. Really on track to hitting 40k by Christmas. But, yeah, so this is I will say this is a thing for Handles Week. And I'm actually shocked to see this. I'm actually shocked to see Caitlin Clark be number 2 on Handles Week. Because I was thinking of crossovers. I was like, oh, Caitlin Clark's not going to make it in Handles Week because, well, one, you had, what's her name? You had Arike Copper there, and obviously Kennedy Carter has to be there. So we'd seen the first two. And I will say this, like, this Caitlin Clark crossover, was it Xander Lassini or was it Bridget Carlton that Caitlin Clark floored on this? I think it was Carlton. Like, yeah, I'll give it. That ankle breaker was that. In fairness, that just broke her ankle. It wasn't even that good a crossover. That was not that great a crossover. In fairness, though, when someone's ankle falls like that and it's an iconic clip, sure. But I have a weird feeling that this was not meant to be number 2. And this was just from the backlash of what number 5 is. So number 5 here, A'ja Wilson crossover. And like, I'm sorry, this is not a great crossover. And this is not, again, a knock on A'ja Wilson. I don't like, but looking at this play right here, this is the most like routine crossover you will ever see. And it got number 5. I just don't know what Bree Jones is doing. I don't know what Bree Jones is doing right here. And it's like, it's okay to admit that, you know, A'ja Wilson is not a top 5 ball handler in the WNBA. And that's fine. But it's like, you have to make sure. I'm shocked that the most, that we didn't see like a Cat Copper or someone with handles. We're probably not even going to see a Rika in the top 5. Like, Kennedy Carter does a better crossover than this 5 times in a game. Like, she actually, I'm sorry, how does Bree Jones, why does she cross her feet? That's just terrible defense. Like, A'ja Wilson brings the ball. The ball doesn't even leave the side of her body. Like, what is Bree Jones? She's not even going for the steal. Bree Jones just crossed her feet for no reason. For absolutely no reason. And I understand. And by the way, I understand A'ja Wilson's ability to handle the ball for a center is unbelievable. Like, two things can be true at once. A'ja Wilson can be a ridiculous handler of the ball for a center. She can, this was a good, like, A'ja Wilson, I guarantee, is better crossovers than this. But at the same time, we can also agree, A'ja Wilson is not one of the top 5 ball handlers, and this does not belong as a top 5 crossover just because it's from A'ja Wilson. Just because Bree Jones just plays the worst defense in history. Like, this is a okay move. A'ja Wilson herself does this twice a game. Like, if you want a crossover, how many times Arike Gumbawale cross people up? How many times? Kennedy Carter does this 7 times a game. And I'm not joking when I mean that. Like, 7 times a game, Kennedy Carter would do something like that. And that's not a knock on A'ja Wilson, because A'ja Wilson is probably the best player in the world. And again, I say probably because based on last season, I don't think you can argue Stewie, but I think you can argue Fee in there. I think it's realistic between them two. But we're looking at a situation where now you just see A'ja Wilson kind of everywhere. You see AJ Wilson everywhere, and it's like, it's okay to say AJ Wilson does not belong in a top 4. And like, people looking at that, and it's like, it was the first one they showed as well. They were like, handles week. And then the first thing they showed was what was one of the most basic crossovers ever. It's like, this is the 5th best handle. And I'm like, this is not. It's really, really not. But it's fine, though. Like, that's fine. Because, look, AJ Wilson might be the best player in the world. I think for blocks week, they probably understated AJ Wilson. You could have had 10 blocks from AJ Wilson in blocks week. Let's be real. That is how good a shot, like, an emphatic shot blocker. It is her, and it is Ezzy Magbagor are the 2 best rim protectors in the WNBA. AJ Wilson is probably the best mid-range post scorer in the WNBA. And for me, it's like, she's bigger, she's more aggressive than Fee Collier. Even though I think Fee's footwork is better, Age is bigger and more aggressive, she scores more. So, like, and she's an unbelievable shot blocker. So, like, Age is unbelievable. And she's got that handle at the 5. Like, this is not a knock on AJ Wilson. But I think that's the problem, where it's like, we saw it with the assist week, where it's like, if Chelsea Gray genuinely, Chelsea Gray could trip over her own feet and fling a ball while tripping over her own feet, it could smack Kelsey Plum in the face, then smack Jackie Young in the face, and then another team's player could go straight to the other team and they could fumble it hot potato and the ball could land in AJ Wilson's hand for a layup, and they would scream, point God, oh my God, what a pass. And I'm like, sometimes it's not. Like, sometimes it's okay to admit something isn't a great pass. Sometimes it's okay to admit that something isn't a great handle. And it's fine. It's fine. Because, again, when we're talking about AJ Wilson, she's brilliant. But that was not a top 5 handle in the league. Like, it just wasn't even close. But it's just shoehorning AJ Wilson into somewhere, realistically, where she doesn't belong. It would be like, I don't know, imagine if they went out of their way and they were talking about, I don't know, defense week. If they were like all defense, WNBA all defense week, and they put a bunch of Caitlin Clark clips in. You can't really do it for block week, because Caitlin Clark, her block on, what's her name? Her block on Marina Mabry to basically ice a game was incredible. But in general, like, Caitlin Clark's a terrible defender. AJ Wilson is an unbelievable ball handler for a center. That's the truth. But it's like, come on. You don't have to force AJ Wilson every single place, even where AJ Wilson doesn't belong. And you don't have, just like you don't have to force players necessarily where they don't belong. Like, it's fine that players have strengths, weaknesses, and it's fine that, you know, you go, especially when the unfortunate thing is like, some of these stats, some of these like plays where it's highlight plays, you're not going to see much of AJ Wilson. There's no point forcing AJ Wilson into a highlight play category. If you want an AJ Wilson highlight play, go show the freaking game winner against Chicago. Like, in clutch, make that like one of the top clutch plays of the season, because that was incredible. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, not a knock on AJ Wilson, just one of these things when it's like, you don't need to force. And I have the same problem with the NBA as well, by the way. And it's just not trying to force. I remember seeing it was like, oh, top 10 like dunks of the season. I'm like, there was like a basic LeBron dunk that's in there. I'm like, why? Why? Just because some borderline G League guy had the best dunk of the year doesn't mean that you have to always have superstars. Heck, if it turns out that the best handler of the year, hypothetically, I don't know, let's just say just a player no one's ever heard of on a hardship contract break somebody's ankles, put that in the top 5. Like, it doesn't always have to be superstars. This is no knock on AJ Wilson. I would be, and I think there are other examples of it. This one was just obvious because it was, for me, so much like, she didn't even bring the ball out. Like, she kept the ball in her body. Like, I mean, man, you might as well call her AJ Iverson at this stage. Either way, though, look, nice play, and it's just a conversation. Is this that relevant? No, but I'm like, I saw something, had an opinion on it, making a video on it. That's generally how this channel works. Is it the end of the world? No, obviously not.